three players who earned playing time for Washington in their spring showcase. So, first of all, the passing game had some highlights. The passing game had some less than spectacular areas as well. But overall, I was really impressed with the defensive back. So the first player who, really stood out was Alex Cook, who had that interception I alluded to earlier in the show from Michael Penix, where it looked like there was a receiver open, but his arm wasn't quite strong enough to, make that read late as he did. If he'd thrown it with more anticipation, it would have been open. But Cook ranged over, made a really nice play. He looks to be a promising player once again for Washington. And I list him because he made the interception, but literally anybody who has the defensive back designation on the roster probably looked good on Saturday. Like if you watch the tape, the way they played, a lot of zone coverage on defense, but they were disciplined. They were solid and they were pressing up. I liked what I saw from the defensive backs quite a bit. And Cook is one of the leaders in that unit. Also defensively, you've got Zion Tupuola-Fetui. Now, Washington guys will remember this name because he was hurt last year and he's been battling injuries, but he looked to be back at full strength. He made 2 tackles in the first 3 plays in this game, and one of them he was chasing Penix out of the pocket. I think that was a little bit later. I could be wrong. You can correct me in the comments below on YouTube if you're watching, if you know, but he was making plays, and he looked to be back to full strength. And after losing Sam Taimani, who transferred to Oregon this offseason, Washington is, trying to fill some of that production on the defensive line. Taimani was one of the 5 highest-graded interior defensive linemen in the Pac-12 a season ago. So losing him leaves a little bit of a void, and Tupuola-Fetui really looks like he's going to be back at full strength, and that's going to be big for Washington in this defense because there'll be plenty of tension on the offense with Kalen DeBoer, and it's a new system, and he's an offensive coach, and they beat UCLA last year in what was an amazing game, and they very nearly beat Oregon down at Autzen Stadium too. So plenty of promise there on the offensive side, and so that'll always leave some questions in the eyes of fans. Like, so what about defense? Like, is it going to be okay? Is it like, are we fine, or like what's going on there? So that's another guy who I think Husky fans should expect to hear from plenty this fall. The other one, and this was the biggest play by far of the entire spring showcase, Lonyatta Alexander Jr. He goes by Junior Alexander. He's a redshirt freshman. He transferred to Washington from Arizona State in January in what has become kind of a mass exodus from Arizona State as of late. He had a catch down the sideline that is one of the best catches you will ever see. If you haven't seen it, go look it up. I assure you, it won't disappoint because it was pretty fantastic. And by the way, it came from Sam Huard, which is something Husky fans should be very excited about because that sort of promise as one of the highest rated quarterback recruits in program history, maybe the highest. I have not double checked that, but I'd be willing to venture a guess and say that he is, at least in the 24/7 recruiting era. He showed this beautiful trajectory on the throw down the sideline. He was left as a left-handed quarterback, and I never played quarterback. That might be obvious if you've ever seen me stand up. I'm, every inch of 5'8.5", when I'm wearing shoes. So that was never a position that I played. I also didn't play a ton of football. I was a kicker in football, if you're really wondering, in middle school for a few years. I was pretty good at it, but not much else. Not my sport. Golf is a little bit more of my speed. Anyway, Huard throwing to his left, and I brought that up because I wasn't sure if it's easier to throw to your front side or your back side. I feel like it just kind of depends on the quarterback. But throwing to his front side, he dropped this ball into the bread basket, or half of a bread basket, I should say, because Junior Alexander made a one-handed snag with a DB all over him. Again, I was really impressed with the DBs in this game. This was good coverage. This was not, an open receiver and the ball's a little off target and a guy makes a great play to save it. No. This was good coverage. This was taking a one-on-one shot, and this was Junior Alexander making one heck of a catch. And he was definitely the biggest offensive star outside of the quarterbacks in the spring showcase on Saturday. And by the way, he actually was high school teammates with Sam Huard at Kennedy Catholic High School in Bellevue, Washington. So there's a history there with those two. And that was on display because following up that amazing catch later in the drive, I'm pretty sure it was the same drive, Huard delivers this dart of a back shoulder throw to Kennedy, who has his defender staring at him. He turns, waits till the very last second to put his hands up, pirouettes around, snags him with two hands in front of his face mask, toe taps inside the pylon for the touchdown. That was an impressive sequence. And I think Washington fans probably saw that and caught a glimpse of what they hope the future will be. The past chemistry between those two was clearly there, and I wonder how much that could play into the quarterback battle this fall, because I think that's one of the things to look at going forward. Junior Alexander, definitely going to be a prominent player this year for the Huskies.